Picture yourself enjoying a nice Mediterranean sunset and a gorgeous glow over what's considered one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a dark, ominous cloud passes over your head. The strange looking cloud moves in ways that are almost hypnotizing, clearly in ways that are not natural. As fast as you can tell, all the locals are ducking for cover or opening their umbrellas. They know what's coming, and it isn't just the rain. It's easy to think that nature's a very fragile thing that can be easily contaminated or destroyed. While it's true that ecosystems are sensitive to change and that these changes are starting to be noticed, the natural world is extremely resilient and adaptable. Life has evolved to adapt on a planet that's always changing. One of the biggest changes in the past centuries is the increasing human appetite for urban spaces. In Europe, this is a change that's been occurring for the past 1,000 years. This phenomenon was accelerated by the Industrial Revolution of the late 19th century. It's not only people who had to adapt, animals have also found their way of adapting to the man-made environments. Nonetheless, several species thrive wherever humans go and make their cities and towns. There's a famous line that in a town or city, no matter what city, you are never more than 6 feet away from a rat. Pigeons, commonly called rats with wings, are another of the species that thrive around humans. So much, in fact, that the population of both species is well gone beyond control. It's easy to understand how come some avian species, like pigeons, can adapt so quickly to urban living. They can nest in buildings or parks. There are tons of food to scavenge, and the trash is often used as part of their nests. As long as the species can endure artificial light, noise, and pollution, all the conditions are due for them to thrive. One of these bird types that are probably a bit too successful in urban environments are starlings, which are collectively known as a murmuration. Starlings are a migratory species. They move south when the climate gets too cold in the north for them to survive. Every year during the fall season, starlings start their journey to warmer southern climates. In Rome, during the winter, there can be anywhere around 4 million starlings. They feed on the countryside but spend their night inside the city, as human activity makes the temperature a bit warmer than on the outskirts. It's during these months that some residents can enjoy something that's been cataloged as Nature's Greatest Aerial Display by the BBC Earthflight Nature Program. As the birds return to the city in the evenings, vast flocks of starlings form what looks like black clouds. The massive group of birds moves almost in unison, remaining very close to one another, and they swoop and turn in fantastic speed. Also called murmurations, these avian airborne maneuvers are believed to be a defense mechanism. By rapidly changing directions and sticking together in such random ways, the birds can easily evade flying predators such as sparrowhawks or peregrine falcons. This also helps them deceiving the hunter that they come across a much broader creature than they expected. Back in 2012, a team of investigators from the University of Rome published a paper on how starlings coordinated with each other. The study revealed that the movement of one starling influences the actions of up to 7 starlings around it. This leads to a chain reaction, which enables the murmuration to efficiently move in such complicated sequences. Many species find the sight of murmurations something of an enchanting nature. There are places in Rome where tourists gather to observe and film them. Locals, on the other hand, are not so in love with the feathered spectacle. Giant flocks of birds soaring above the city has a considerable downside, a smelly and messy downside. The vast amount of birds translates into an even more significant feces problem. During their stay in Rome, the birds fly out into the countryside and eat olives off the trees, said Raffaella Mercolella, a local councilwoman. Rome's residents had to resort to using umbrellas or avoid going out to avoid being splattered by 4 million birds. But it's not only poop that's falling. Starlings that fail to coordinate themselves can also fall to the ground after colliding with other birds and falling to their deaths. Inexplicably, there have been a huge number of cases of birds falling from the skies to their deaths. These small bodies of the birds littered the streets of Rome. It was like a Hitchcock film. There was a lot of blood, and the smell became horrible, said Francesca Manzia, who runs an avian hospital for the Italian League of Bird Protection. Curiously, after doing autopsies on some of the fallen birds, the hospital concluded that neither disease or toxins had caused the birds to fall from the sky. She suggested that evolution was responsible again. She believes that predators could be leading the birds towards obstacles to take them out of the air. If one starling hits an obstacle, many others will follow behind and meet the same fate. No matter what happens and why birds fell, one commonly shared feeling is that there are just too many birds, which is making life difficult for Rome's residents. There's been a wide selection of approaches to dealing with the starling population. They tried scaring the birds off the city by bringing in more falcons, and even used a distress signal to avoid them from nesting on city grounds. All to no avail. Even if the government decided to take more drastic measures, such as poisoning the birds, the remaining specimens would have plenty of resources to build the flocks again in a few years. In the end, Rome's residents will have to resign themselves to the slippery and stinky streets in return for having the chance to admire one of the most spectacular air shows in the world.